I'll begin with mean. Now, whenever we talk about mean, mean is very popular nowadays. People love mean. They say that, okay, mean is good. But what is one thing, or what are the things which intent people or interest people in mean is what you'll be discovering. So what will be the objective? So we'll be going through the mean stack, the components of mean stack. The most popular question, mean versus MERN, would be covered. Then this mean covers four parts: MongoDB, Express.js, Angular, and Node.js. So what are all these parts all about? How do you create a small project? And then I have a surprise project for you. So I've created a small project which can be like a user registration module. I'll be taking you through all of this in the coming session. Any questions till here, guys? Cool. I'll move ahead further. That's great. Now, before me, you would be interested in knowing about me. I am Aditya. I'm holding a degree of MTech from BITS Pilani. I've been working with Fortune 500 companies for the past 7 years. I have been working on Angular and on the mean stack for the past 2 years now. Yep. So what are these four pillars of mean, guys? Anyone who can answer. So mean has four pillars. Express.js is one, Angular is another, Node is another, and MongoDB is the one. So MongoDB, Express.js, Angular, and Node.js together forms the mean stack. Now, what is mean exactly? Now, so if you observe mean carefully, you would find that mean is formed by JavaScript. What JavaScript means is it is so all of these four modules are in JavaScript. So Mongo is a JavaScript based database. Express is a JS based web framework. Angular is again a JavaScript which is used for building UI, and Node is a server, right? So because of this, now till now, what was the problem was, like if you have used LAMP or WAMP, the problem with those architecture was you had to use or you had to have knowledge of different frameworks. What that means is from PHP to .NET to Java, then to HTML. So all these, there was a mix and match of different technologies, which made development a bit difficult. So you wouldn't find people who could develop from the starting of the stack to the ending of the stack. Considering this particular action or time frame, there was a need of the hour to have a framework which can adapt to all the technology. So to cover that, we got a JS based framework which is holding all of this data. Can we move ahead now? So what are the applications? So from mean can be used to make dynamic applications which can include like e-commerce applications, something like Amazon, something like your Paytm. So from the back end to the front end, any dynamic application which you want can be made in mean stack. Guys, any questions still here? Now the main advantage is the entire backend front-end code is purely in JavaScript. Guys, any questions still here? Anyone is having? Cool, perfect. Now we will move ahead further with the next thing. So what is this alternate for? This is alternate to other full stack alternates like LAMP, WAMP, or JavaScript or Java, which are something which put different technology or different stacks to the use. So moving further is, how do you differentiate a mean stack to a MERN stack? How many of you are willing to understand this? Okay, so Neil, WAMP stands for Windows, A for Apache, M for MySQL, P for PHP. Now, how does a mean differs from a MERN stack? Now, this is quite popular, and I've been following this for quite some time now. So people often confuse, like, should I use mean or should I go for MERN? I'll try to cover it from the learner's perspective, which one holds much importance. So typically the mean is, so all the things are same. The only difference comes in the Angular and the React, this part, right? So how these two differ would kind of answer or would kind of help me understand, should I use mean or should I use MERN? Now, if you talk about mean is more of a framework and MERN is more of a library. Now the language is, it's a TypeScript based and this is a JSX based. Architecture. So till here it's fine. So what is the framework? Framework is something which has some rules, like how do you create a component? How can you do? So there are certain rules available, right? So you have to follow the rules in order to develop the application. Whereas this is a library. Library can be, like importing a simple JS file and getting started with it, right? Language, it is based on TypeScript. So TypeScript is a language which is, it's a kind of a underlying language on which my Angular is based, whereas R or React is based on JSX. So you can use JSX, you can do whatever you wish to do. So even JS is fine, even JSX is fine. Now architecture, this is component based. What it means is, whenever you have to create a new file or whenever you do anything, everything and anything in Angular is a component based thing. So you first create a component and then you get started with it. Whereas there is no such foundation in the React or in the MERN stack. Now, most of you won't be aware about it, but data binding is how I bind my data from the UI to the backend. So the data binding is either two-way or one-way, and it's only one way in MERN stack. Now DOM. DOM is, so whenever a page is loaded on the application or on the browser, there's a whole HTML script which comes up. Now mean follows a regular DOM and MERN follows a virtual DOM. This is a heads up for the MERN stack and the ease of use. So mean is easy to, it's mediumly easy to use. There are certain rules which needs to be followed, but MERN is more easy. But then why is mean so popular? It is because of its framework capabilities. In case of MERN stack, what is happening is you use different libraries to do a lot of tasks, which is pre-built or pre-done in the mean stack, due to which mean is gaining popularity a lot. Guys, any questions on this front? Okay, Sunil, on this front, why are we not using virtual DOM? Because MERN is developed by Facebook, right? So React is a Facebook given developed library. Now, what happens is Facebook was looking a way in which, like, whenever you click a like on a Facebook or you click on any of those buttons, there's a lot of code which goes, or the DOM has to refresh every point in time. Refreshing a DOM is a very expensive operation, and we generally can't afford that. To solve that, what Facebook did was Facebook created a virtual DOM and it maintained the entire structure inside the memory itself or inside the browser memory. And it replaced only the part of the module which was needed. That is why it is more popular or it is more used. Does that answer your question now? No? Okay. Like right now, I'll just give you an example. Now if you open any page, so like this, when I click on this file, so this new page is loading up, right? Every time a new page is loaded up, it means a new DOM is coming up. So this is a DOM refresh which is happening. The problem with my current structure was it was not possible to replace the entire DOM initially, but React kind of solved that. It created a virtual DOM in memory and it was able to get hold of the smallest child which needed to be replaced rather than replacing the whole DOM. Okay. Data binding is a very simple concept. Okay, I'll give you an example for this. Okay, wait. If you guys see over here, now if you go to like this is my project which I'm creating. I click on this one. This is my UI which I'm creating, and this UI is a element, right? Binding this element on the screen to a variable in a JS is known as data binding. I hope that answers the question now. Cool. Okay, sure. I'll now move ahead with the next topic. Now we have covered mean versus MERN. So yes, from a developer standpoint, I would say MERN is easy to use, but from a learning standpoint, I would say it's considering the job opportunities and the tech stack future availability. I feel that mean is more prominent and is used a bit more in the industry. Now, introduction to Node.js. So what is Node.js is? Node.js is a open source cross-platform JavaScript environment. I'll give you an example. Now, once you run this particular application, there needs to be a server which needs to answer the request. So when you click on this one, all these URL binding and all of these things needs to be handled by a server. For that, I needed a server. So till now in WAMP or LAMP or in Java, like in Java, Apache was doing it, Apache Tomcat was doing it, in LAMP, Apache was doing it. But in JS, there was no such framework available, which led to a requirement of a framework which is known by the name of Node.js. So Node.js is a framework or is a cross-platform JavaScript runtime environment, which is available to answer the client request. Now, the so there's one very important thing. Don't confuse this Node.js to a JS thing, right? Node.js is a product which is offered, right? So don't confuse the two. Now, the best part about using Node.js is it works or it lets developers work on server-side scripting. So what is server-side scripting? So like right now, whenever I'm putting in some requests, what is server is? So I have a Node server. In the Node server, like all the command which you are processing, those are processed at the runtime on the server, and then a HTML page is returned based on that particular request. So like if from Amazon you click on an iPhone 11 product, you land on the iPhone 11 because that page is created in a way that you can refer the details of a specific page. Now, Node.js represents a JavaScript any everywhere paradigm. What it means is any platform or anything which is happening, it is running everywhere. So what it means is it should be able to run on any runtime environment. This power holds the future for the MERN stack, and due to ability to run everywhere, it is able to build the stack with so much ease. Now, one thing I told you, don't confuse this Node.js with .js. It's just a product name. Don't confuse it that this is a file or something of that sort. It's only a product which is built by the name of Node.js. Now, what is Node? Node is an event-driven architecture. What it means is like this architecture is capable of asynchronous request. What is asynchronous request? You land on a specific page. Once you land on a page, you should be able to send requests which may or may not depend or which may or may not hamper the request. I'll give you an example. Let me turn down this one. Now, let's say I go to any website for that matter. Let's go to Eduonix. So if I go to this website over here, now there are multiple things which are available at the very first time, and there could be different products which are not available on the very first loading. So if you see over here, once I scroll over here, this data, this might or may not be available when I'm logging in for the first time. Like this is still loading. So these are known as asynchronous requests, and Node is capable to handle the asynchronous requests. So moving on to the next is, okay, guys, any questions till Node over here? Cool. Now, moving on to the next is Express. So what is Express is? Express is more of a framework like a backend framework. What it means is you send a request. Now, once the request is sent, you need to interact with the database to fetch some data. All of those works, creating of APIs, deploying of HTTP methods, all that is done in Express. I'll take you through the common example before we move on. So you simply write something, you include the Express, and then you say on which port it should run, and then you create a API for the home or for the slash page, which means like say localhost 3000 slash. Once you file this request, a response is sent which says hello world API. Does it make sense, guys? This can be the smallest API which is there or which can be created. Guys, any questions still here? Cool. I'll now scroll back a bit and take you through the whole thing. You have understood what is Express, how you use. Let's see how or what Express is all about. So now, why we use Express? We use Express to create APIs. So what are APIs? APIs are my application programming interface, which I use. APIs can be a API to create a new user, or API to log in the user, API to delete some data. All of these are APIs. Now, the power of APIs is these can be used in mobile apps also. Now, if you wish to use Express, how would you do it? This is how we do it. Now, to install, you would have to use something like this. So you say mkdir my app, and then you change the name, and then you say npm init, and then you, oh, sorry, this is a change directory command. You create a new folder, you land in the folder, you do npm init. The purpose of npm init is it creates a package.json file. And once you have done this, then you say npm install express and you save it. What it means is it means that this change should be preserved in the package.json file. Guys, any questions till here? Okay, no, guys, you have not asked exactly what is npm. I'll just let you know. npm is a Node package manager. So in Node or in Node.js, everything is available as a package, right? So all of these are package. Each package has a package.json file, and npms are the holder of all those packages. So if you see npm, so this is this is a repository where you can hold any of the package. Like say I want a package for React. It's not taking away. Yeah. So over here. So this is my React package. So if you can see over here, this is a package. This is how I install it. This is the number of downloads, the current version, and the home page. So you can kind of view all the packages or package you have. Okay. So what is save is? Save is basically love. Now, what happens is if I install it, it is installed for once. But in order to update the package or JSON file, and in order to allow, or in order to reuse it the next time when I want to use, I can use save command. So save is just a flag. Okay, guys, if you are not able to see my screen, I'll share my whole screen now. Guys, can you see my screen now? Do you see the React page now? Yes, Manish, you can use npm for any of the OS. It's completely fine. You just need to install it. Can I really need Express? No, you don't need this Express for API fetching. You need to have this Express to create APIs, Shubham. So there's the difference. So this is creation of API. It's not that we are using an API. It's more of API creation rather than API using. If you run, so this is my get, which means this is the HTTP method. So I am saying on the app get, this is the response, and when I say listen, I simply pass the log. So it means that the server will listen on this specific port, and in case a request is triggered, it would search for the corresponding method and the corresponding URL and serve the request. Guys, any questions? Okay, so what is happening is you are saying that this app is the Express app. You are saying that when a GET request is triggered, which means that on this URL, whenever a request is triggered, the request params are captured over here and the response is triggered from here. And you get response.send. But in certain cases, you would need the post also, and you can create all these methods in a similar way. But in order to let the nodes or the server know that this is my request, you say app.listen. What listen does is it says search, listen for any request coming on this particular port. And whenever request comes on this port, simply console a log and pass on this particular message. Guys, any questions still here now? Guys, can we move ahead to the next thing? Any questions still here? Okay, so Sunil, what you do is when you create an application in Angular, so then you call the APIs of Express. That is how you use Express. Okay, now moving on further is my MongoDB, which is nothing but a NoSQL database. So what it means is it's a document type database. So what do you mean by document? It's a JSON document. So what is JSON? JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. So now, whenever you have a JS object, you can save the or you can store a JS object directly as a. Okay, wait. How many of you are not able to hear me, guys? Anyone who's not able to hear? Guys, can you hear me? Ah, cool. Okay, sure.
Yes, Aditya, I can hear you clearly. I'm
Uh,
sure if anyone has a problem, just
yeah, they would have to
put it on the
rejoin.
chat, please. Yeah.
Sure. So now, what is MongoDB? MongoDB is a NoSQL based database. What it means is, so you store data in the form of documents or JSON documents. JSON are nothing but my JavaScript object notation. So what it means is MongoDB is also storing the JSON documents directly. So what are JSON? JSON are nothing but field value pairs. So like I have a name and I have a value of it. Now, till now, we were using SQL or SQL based or relational databases. The problem with relational database was the problem with relational database was they had a proper schema in place, and that was a bit difficult to manage. So MongoDB is more of schemaless architecture. There is no schema. You can create documents as and when you want. That is why it is more popular. Now, MongoDB documents are nothing but something very similar to JSON objects. So whatever object you have in JavaScript or a JS object, you can store those directly into the MongoDB or into the Mongo database. Yes, Nilesh. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation, and you can use JSON or you can store JSON in MongoDB directly. Now, what a field can be, like say if you are storing a field in MongoDB inside a document, that field could include other documents, means a subdocument. It can include an array and it can include an array of documents as well. So which means there is no limit on what it can hold. It can hold any data which you want it to hold. Okay, and NoSQL means basically NoSQL is nothing. It's more or less like saying that there is no SQL or there is no relational architecture to it. So relational databases have few properties, right? They have normal forms, they have different rules of it. So saying that it is NoSQL, which means that there is no such schema definition or schema requirement for the same. I would say that depends on the use case, but yes, MongoDB is much faster as compared to SQL counterparts. Like think from this angle. If you so what a schema is, the field, like say in case of SQL, if you create a table which has 5 fields, right, or it has 5 columns, so to create a sixth one you would have to alter the whole structure in case of SQL. But in case of MongoDB, it's not needed. If there comes a new field, you can simply store that field directly. Now, I will move on further. What are the advantages of using MongoDB? Now, this means that it can, so these JSON documents can be used directly. Till now, the problem of having a SQL was you read from SQL, you convert it to JSON, and then you pass it to the APIs. So, but this is the inherent capability of MongoDB. So no parsing needed, you can simply use it. Now, once you are embedding documents or arrays, so there is less need of expensive joins. So you can remove the joins also. I'll skip this one. What it means is, so by polymorphism, you can have a layer of documents or you can have an array of documents which follow a specific structure and others follow a specific structure. I'll leave this point right now. Now, how to install MongoDB? You would have, so this is a guide which takes you through. So you go to mongodb.com, try download and community, and then you can get started with the MongoDB installation. You can directly get started with MongoDB. There is no need to learn SQL first. Okay, so what is schema? Schema is the rules. Like say you create a table. That table has certain rows and columns. That is schema. Expensive joins means when I have two tables and I'm joining the two table to give you a current set of information. Like say you have a table for employee and a table for department. Now what you do is you simply pass that who are the employees working in for a specific department. So in this case, you need to pass or you need to join the two table or two tables in order to give a single solution, right? So this is expensive. These joins are very expensive in SQL databases. Now, moving on to my introduction to Angular. So what is Angular? Angular is a single page application. How many of you have heard of SPA? I'm not talking about the spas or something of that sort which we visit. It's a single page application or also known as PWA, Progressive Web Apps. Now, what happens is in case of my databases or in anything for that matter, what I have to do is I have to create UIs. I'll give you an example, guys, over here. Now let's go to application like say Amazon.com or Amazon.in. Now, if you visit onto any of the specific pages, and I now navigate to this particular application. Now, this particular product which I find or which I use over here, this product is a single product, right? Now, if I want to change this and if I go to this particular product, what would happen is you would find that everything remains the same, just new data arrives, whereas the structure and all of this is same. That is what is known as SPA or single page application. In case of single page application, what happens is, in case of single page application, I only change the request or I only pass on the new data and that page is correspondingly responded with the new data. I don't change the header, I don't refresh the header and footer. I simply change the data which I need to, which gives me the capability to work on the applications. Now, okay, so what it means is, so now we use Angular for creating single page applications. Angular is based on TypeScript. Now people confuse between Angular and AngularJS. All the versions of Angular which were till 1.x were termed as AngularJS, and post versions running 2 and up, the JS was removed and they were only named or only referred as Angular. Now this is how my typical structure looks like. You have a client sends a request. So this client is nothing but my Chrome browser, right? From a browser. So this Angular is where I send the request to my server. Server sends the request to the Express. In the Express, Express may go to the database to fetch data, retrieve the data, and send back the data. Then return back the request to Node, which will then send the response to Angular, which can then be displayed on the client machine. Guys, any questions on this frame as of now? I would suggest you guys to use the latest version of Angular. Okay, sure. Now imagine you are logging in, right? So you pass your username and password from this one to the Angular application. The Angular will send the API request to the node. Node would then pass it to the Express. Express would go to the database to find the data on the file, right? Now, once it finds the data on the file, it returns back the data. Express will check, do the password provided over here and here match? If these two things match, it would return back the request to the Node.js and then would send the request back to Angular, and this would be then displayed on the UI. Any questions? Okay, cool. With that being said, we will move ahead now. Praveen, you would have to refer the change log, which would help you understand like what are the new changes, and if any of the functions which are there or which are being used by you are changed, then you would have to revisit those. Now, what are single page applications? Single page are the web apps that load a single HTML once, and then these are then used upon to uh, update only the data which needs to be changed. So the benefit is you don't need to, you don't need to actually update the whole page or update the whole thing. You just update the data which needs to be changed. Now, what are spas based on? Spas use a lot of Ajax and APIs to create a fluidic design. The fluidic means the power it gives to change or to adapt the UI on its own. Now, spas use JSON or SQL, or JSON or XML, which can be used to transfer the data from the server back and forth. So that is about SPA. What are the advantages? You don't need to load the complete page. You just these are a faster UI and hence are more interactive. Ajax is asynchronous JavaScript and XML. Okay. Now, what I'll do is, so how does Spa work? Spa work with its capability of of the CSS3. Now, what I'll do is I'll take you through the. So we are aware what mean is all about, right? Now, think from your perspective and understand what all things can you do in mean, or what are the different projects which you can develop in mean. So we are running this program over here. So these are the applications which we plan to run or develop in the end of the project, which would include a blogging system, something like Blogger, a complete portfolio website, a clock, a CMS, and an e-commerce website. So I think Vivek will take you through this course in detail towards the end of the session. I think Vivek, you can take care of it in the towards the end of the session.
Sure,
I
sure.
now, yeah. Do you want to explain about this right now, or you want to take it in the end, Vivek?
No, you can continue. I didn't want to interrupt. I'm actually
Sure.
also having a interesting look at the your explanation. So yeah, quite keen to continue.
Sure. Thank you.
All right,
Thanks for that, Vivek.
no problem.
So now, what we plan to run for you right now is this project. So till now, whatever we were talking about was all theory, right? Considering the time frame or the time limit we have, it would not have been possible to create this whole project right in the session. But I've created a small member system. What is member system is where you can view all the members which are there. You can create a new member. You can edit these members and you can delete these members. So like if I click on delete, it should delete the data. And all of this is done or developed properly in the mean stack, so you can do it. Now, if I create a new member, like let's say Eduonix test, so the form has all validations, which means if you create a member, till the time the values are not there, it won't let you create it. So now, if you refresh this one, you would get the new user as well. So all this is all done. I will try to explain you through this code in some 15 minutes of time, and then we will move ahead with the Q&A which we have. So this is my member system. Wait, just a second. Okay. So this is my package.json which I was talking you about. This is Eduonix member system. These are all the dependencies which I'm using. Don't worry, guys. You would be getting this. Yes, we can do it. Bhagav. That function is missing, so I just have to add that. Rest we can do that as well. These are the dependencies which we are importing. Also, guys, don't worry. You would be getting all the codes available as a zip file towards the end of the webinar. So I think Vivek will help you with it. So you will get those as well. So you can create an application like this on your own as well. Now, in the very starting, I told you that Angular is all about members, right? So these are my members. Like, say, this is my home page where I see Welcome to Member Management Portal. I would update something. I would say Eduonix Member Management, right? So if it's refreshed, the changes are done on the real time. So this is running on a Node server, right? Now this is my home and this is my CSS. Right now you can see that I have not passed anything in the CSS over here. And this is my TypeScript where I'm just simply calling some data. I'll ignore this part right now. But how do I hold all the components? So this is my module where I define all my components. So this is my home component and it is in the declaration. So home component comes from the home and in the home dot component. Is any questions still here? I'm very sure you are more interested in learning about how do I how do I create all of these things? So let's go to the most interesting part, which is my member.add. This is my HTML page. I am having this is my input, which is my member name. Now, if you see that this member name is the form controller name, and I am using it. Now, so what I'm doing is I am using a ngIf, which is saying that if this name is invalid, which means that it is not available or it's not there, I can run even my own validations also. Then I enable this error which says member name is required. Now, till now, this validation is so easy because it's Angular. Otherwise, you would have to do a lot of things. We are using the default validation library over here. So if you see over here, we are using a validator. Just let me just help look at for it. It's not there over here. It's in the package.json. So this is the forms library, which I'm using for the loading thing. I was using the loading bar. and I'm using routing for the URIs, right? I'll come to this part a bit later. Now moving on further from my member add is, so I'm able to get hold of all the data which I need. Post that I am, so once this data is coming up, this is all HTML. This is where my entire code resides. So what I do is I create a component. I pass that what this component is all about. What is the URL? This is defined over there. And from here, I start coding it. So I say create form, and over here, I apply the validator. So this is validator is coming from the forms library, as I just told you. So I'm saying validators dot required, which means if it's blank, there's a validation which needs to be there. Now, if it's member, so same in the bio and same in the age. I've just applied the very basic validation which needs to be there. Now, once I go to this one, I simply call the add member. Add member function is there in my member service. So if you will come to the member service and I'll show you how this is being inserted into the APIs or how the APIs are being called. So this is my member service. Member service. So this is my member class, which has three data points: the member name, the member bio, and the member age. So if you see over here, I am simply saying add member. So if you see over here, this add member is having this data and it is posting on this URL on this API. It is simply inserting the data. So this is my get member, this is my add member, edit member, update member, and delete member. Guys, any questions till this front, uh, till this point over here? So Fatima, don't worry about the setup thing. I'll just let me show it to you. So we have, so I'm telling you this. So this PPT will be shared along. These are having all the commands which need to run along. So don't worry about it. So Vivek would be sharing a form which can help you get this all set up. Right now, skip the MongoDB part. MongoDB can be done. You can do the MongoDB and Express differently. Use these APIs, these dummy APIs over here directly. Okay. Now these are my methods. So now this is my member add. Now to member get, what I was doing was I'm just simply creating a table. In the table, this is my header. Like say, let me say username for some time, bio and age. I'm just changing the UI elements right now. So if you go to members, you would find that the fields have changed. You can set it into bold and you can do whatever you wish to do. So now I'm running a ng4. What it means is in the members, whatever data is coming in, get all that data and use or create all of this data. Correct, guys? Okay, now how do I delete? So in case of delete, I am simply catching the click method and I'm using the delete function to get hold of the ID or the I which is to be deleted, and correspondingly I am calling the delete. In case of edit, I am routing the request on an edit page. So this is my edit page, which means 6 means this is the sixth user ID, right? Now let's go to the member get. So this is my member get. This is the members being created. On init, I am getting the members from the service class, obviously, and I am subscribing the data. This subscribe is nothing but kind of pushing the data, or it is a kind of an API call which is happening in the backend. Okay, ng for is there could be multiple members, right? There could be 10 members or 15 members. So to show all of those, I need to use the ng for. Okay, sure. So this is my ng4. What it means is this is my ng is for Angular and for is the loop which we are running in. You are saying let members of members. So this is coming in. All the members are there and it is traversing over them one by one, getting all the data, pushing the data, and the I is the index. Okay. Now you see, you find that these are all the components. So home is one component, member is another, member edit is another, and member get is another. So this is my member get. I am passing in all the data which is coming up, and the member is inside the this function. So yeah, I'm creating the form over here, and this is a member corresponding ID which I'm receiving. So whenever I'm getting an ID which is 6 now, if I replace this 6 by say 3, there is no such user by the name 3. Let's do it 7. No, yeah, 7 is there. It is holding of 7. Now, if you observe carefully, you will find that initially the data being loaded is blank in nature, which means that there is nothing coming up. It is first creating the UI and then pushing in the data by the data binding. Yeah, so like this can lead to excesses. I'm just trying to explain, this is more of a learning angle. So what I'm trying to explain people is how to actually use the API front. So that is what it's the main point of this session. Now on init, I am getting this data based on the param ID. I am fetching the request and I'm setting the member over here. Guys, any questions still here now? Now, so on the home page, you land on the home component. Home component is one, member add, member edit, and member get. But what about my routing? So if you see over here, like when you see create member, you go to member create. If you go to members, you simply land on the members. How is this all routing happening on? All this routing is happening on inside my app routing module. So what it does is it says that this is a path, this is the component, and you see that on the home or on the blank page or when there is no URL, load home component. When the URL is member create, you say load the member add component. Whenever there is an edit followed by any ID, you can run for this component. And whenever there are members, you can run for this component. Any questions till this front, guys? Now, anyone? So routing is handled by the routes. Vaishnav, this Mongo query is the express part. I'm explaining this from an API angle, right? So this is how you would have to use the API. We will take this part later on. Right now, what needs to be understand is how can you learn or how can you understand about the routing or the angular angle, which is what is fragment. Let me find it out. Where can you find fragment? Basically, so I'm not able to see which what you're pointing to right now, but what is happening is, Sunil, all this data or routes, all these routes are placed more from the application standpoint. Like this is a separate route and this is a separate route. So you can divide these pages into two separate modules, and then you can use it. So this is not available. This is not there in the React angle. This is not there in this Angular right now. Fragment is more based on the Android and on the mobile apps front. Okay. Now, so this is my home page, create page, member page. Let me see if there's any API or any page remaining. This is my member service, the modules, all the modules which are there, the component where this is my home component or my first component being created. So service is the holder of your business logic. So like you generally whenever you want to apply an application logic to it, so you need to have some business logic, like say in case of loan. Moin, questions are pasted in the chat, so I read questions from there and then we respond to those. Now, what happens is service hold a business logic. Like say you say that if username is blank, then don't send a request to the server, right? Because it's blank. So all those validations and all those things can be handled in the service layer directly. That is what is the service there for. Now, what do, now since most of you are okay, so there's one part which is remaining is how do you run this application, right? So you can go to the terminal, you can navigate down to the application or the folder on which your application is running, and then you would simply say ng serve. Ng means Angular, serve means serve the page, which means that it would be able to serve your request and help you get the pages up and running. So any changes are picked up automatically, so you don't need to even worry about those. Now, most of you are asking that, hey, we are new to it. How do we actually understand this? So you can use. So we have this PPT will be shared. You can go these step by step. So you create a new project. You can run the commands. Everything is there up available over here. So how you add bootstrap, what styles you there, and then how do you add a new component? These are the new components which we are adding. I think we have already discussed all of this in detail. And how do you add routing? So this is all of this what I've just showed you is covered up as a step-by-step process. It would help you help you understand with all these things.